TGIF. Although, as I said in my Instagram post today, do we really even know what Friday is anymore? Does it mean anything? Because it seems like all the days and weekends and weeks are running into each other and so forth. But I was working toward this goal this week. At the end of the week, I sort of got fed up with, I guess I shouldn't use the word fed up. I should say I got full of stuff. So I had all these things to do and I crossed them all off my list today. I got all this stuff done. That was great. I put up a little message that I could not answer direct messages on Instagram because they were coming in faster than I could answer them and it was too much. So if you sent me a message on Instagram, I'm sorry, but I can't answer it because I had other stuff to do and I have other stuff to do. So I'm sorry, but I'm not. Sorry, not sorry. Anyhow, hello, Brad Parsons, and hello, Chloe. Glad you like the latest newsletter. It's a lot of fun doing with the different format, the different newsletter style. And I'm just adjusting the camera here so I can see you and you can see me. So hello, everybody. Hello in Michigan, Deborah, and Robinto Albert. And hello in El Paso, Texas, and Maggie in Scotland. I don't know you, Maggie, but I love Scotland. And hello in Toronto, Sausalito, the Netherlands. Is Roman coming as well? I think he's stuck in traffic. Hi in Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I went for the first time a couple of years ago, and I just love the city. It was great. Brad Parsons, you are blocked. Okay, Okay, I'll unblock you, but I'm giving you one more chance, Brad Parsons. And hello in Mauritius and Houston. I'm not really blocking Brad Parsons, but anyway, so stuff to talk about today. Before I get going, I just want to let you know that if you sent me a message in Instagram, I didn't read it, and if you had a question, answer it now. One thing I did want to ask you about, though, was very interesting. This week I did a little survey in my Instagram stories. I said, what do you think of the noise of the motor scooters in Paris? Does anyone like it? And 14% of the people, I just checked, I wasn't sure if it was 7 or 14, and I just checked, and 14% of the people responded that they liked the noise of the very, very loud motor scooters without mufflers buzzing through the streets of the city. So if anybody would like to explain any of the 14, I want to hear from the 14%. You can use the little question thing at the bottom and just type why you like that noise. And I especially want to hear from people that live here, because I want to find out why you like that noise, because sometimes we can't even carry on a conversation. We have to keep stopping. So hopefully it won't bother us tonight making this drink. What else did I want to talk about? I had to write it down. Two housekeeping things. One is I made these really good cookies this week, and there was a lot of them. It was a recipe from Claire Saffitz's new book, Dessert Person, and the cookies were huge. The ball of dough was like, and then I baked it, and they were enormous. I was like, in France, no one's like this. This is not going to fly in France. A cookie this big. So I baked them smaller, and I baked some large and smaller. And you know what? The large ones were a lot better. I don't know why. I'm going to be writing about them on my blog this week, hopefully, when I can. It's a pretty complicated recipe, believe it or not. And she says that, but she goes, it's worth the effort, which it was, or is. And I'm going to eat one right now because I can't. I stop eating them. They're really good. And maybe I'll even try to get her on the show. Although she's a big deal. And so maybe not. I'm stuck with you, Brad Parsons. Now we're going to start. Another thing I've got going on is someone just mentioned my newsletter. I do have a newish newsletter. It's the same one I had before. It's a free newsletter. It goes out every month, like it has since 2006 or something like that. And I've just added a premium or paid version. I was going to say premium, but it sounds goofy because it's like 14%, I want to hear from you. It's a paid version, and for a few dollars a month, less than the price of a Starbucks coffee, you get extra recipes and info and stuff. Like this savory cake is coming up for those of you who are premium subscribers. But you don't have to be a premium. I don't like selling stuff to people, except my book, Drinking French. But you don't have to be a premium subscriber to get the free newsletter, and I like free. So speaking of which, somebody just walked in the door, and somebody left a comment about, there's 3 questions, but nobody answered the question. Yes, thank you. You're part of the 86%. drives us crazy. They say that each scooter wakes up 1,000 people. You know, people always ask me for a pâte de fruits recipe, and we made them in pastry school in France. They're very difficult to make. You need to use a refractometer and measure the sugar density, and they're challenging to make, so I do not have a home-size recipe. So there. The only one I know of that supposedly works for home cooks is in the original French laundry cookbook. It uses apple pectin. So the way to do it is to cook the fruit. You have to add a lot of sugar. Everybody wants to use less sugar in recipes whenever I put them up. So that is not the, I'm gonna eat the rest of this cookie. It's an oatmeal pecan praline cookie. And we have a special guest that just walked in the door. Tu veux dire bonjour? Après, tu peux récupérer.
Je peux prendre une douche?
Oui. Look who just came home.
Hello, everybody. C'est la salade de Virgile.
Speaking of Scotland, we got this in Scotland. Tu as acheté en Écosse?
Oui. For my mother.
Oh, pas pour moi. So anyway, welcome, bienvenue.
Je suis vraiment fatigué de mon journée de travail.
He worked all day.
La sculpture est un dur métier.
He said being a sculptor is a difficult métier, work. It's not really work. Métier is like a skill, or your métier is like your craft.
Être artiste n'est pas un métier.
He said being an artist is not a métier, it's a passion. And actually, if you want to use a blog, there's a website called romanpalace.com. C'est ton site?
Yes.
.fr ou .com?
.com.
OK. Je vais échanger la place avec toi.
Oui.
OK, we can get, ça va? Tu es confortable? OK.
Oui.
So we have a little surprise visitor here. And so far, nobody has come to the defense of the scooters. Anne is saying it reminds you of Paris, but don't other things remind you of Paris, like the Seine and the pretty churches and the beautiful museums and the pastries?
Je vais prendre une douche. Ça va?
Okay, Roman said he's going to take a shower. So. Tu veux faire ça maintenant? Okay, prends une douche et je vais faire des cocktails. Okay, help. And Roman is on Instagram. He's at romanpalace.com, ROMAINPELLAS. So, to make this cocktail, I have very good news for you. I put the recipe on my blog today, so it's at davidlebovitz.com, so you don't have to write anything down. It's Friday, you can just take a deep breath and relax, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to make this cocktail, but before I start, I found these at the supermarket today when I was buying milk, and they're called pocket sausages, and there's a joke in there. It's one of those jokes that like a French person wouldn't get. Like if I say like trouser trout, Roman's like, what's that? Why is there a fish in your trouser? I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. So these are called pocket sausages, and they were 30 cents each. Hello in Erie, Pennsylvania. And so we'll see what they're like later with the drink. But it's always good to have something to eat when you drink, because it absorbs the alcohol. So today's drink has several of my favorite alcohols in them, spirits, I should say. One of them is Chartreuse, and the classic is green Chartreuse that's used in this cocktail. But I made it with yellow as well, and it's a different drink, slightly different, but very good. So if you have one or the other, you don't need to necessarily go out and buy another one, although it's nice to have both. Chartreuse will last forever, and it's the only spirit in the world, although some people tell me Benedictine does this too. It continues to evolve in the bottle before you open it or even after it's open. And sometimes it increases in value substantially. So as Tim Masters, I think, says, he said the green becomes angrier and the yellow becomes better. So I don't know if he used the word better, but the yellow chartreuse probably has saffron and honey in it. They don't reveal either of the ingredients, but I love chartreuse, and this has chartreuse in it, this cocktail, which is kind of interesting because another ingredient is tequila. And the idea of putting tequila and chartreuse together is a little strange because tequila, it's not smoky, but it's earthy. Chartreuse is earthy too. It's herbally. It's a whole different direction. But it's very interesting to mix it with tequila, which I didn't know if I'd like it, but it was good. Or it is good. And the last ingredient is one that you don't have. It's called picon amer, or amer picon. Don't worry, my editor, when I wrote Perfect Scoop, she brought up the same question. She goes, do you really want to have something in the book that people can't get? And I said, well, you can't talk about French spirits and liquors and aperitifs and even cafe life without talking about picon amer. It was invented in 1837 as a cure for malaria, which I think it was Gaëtan Picon. Was living in North Africa, and he actually got malaria as well. So he came up with a drink that was flavorful enough that had quinine in it. So that's the basis of pecan. It's evolved over the years. It used to be a lot stronger. Now it's like 18% alcohol. It's a different bottle. It's not as brusque as the old stuff. I've tasted the old stuff. If you find an old bottle, definitely buy it if you can. It's worth a lot. But this is Picon Club. There's also Picon Bière. Shh. I've got Romain on the phone. Picon Bière. It's usually added to beer in France, especially in the north of France. So maybe it works on COVID. Interestingly enough, somebody in the spirits business said to me, well, quinine was kind of the CBD of the 1800s, sort of a cure-all, and nobody quite, I don't know if there was a lot of evidence for it or not, but there we have it. So it has this in it, and you can't get this in the United States. It's very hard to find out why, and I found out because there is an ingredient in here. It's a plant that's illegal to import into the US. So it's called calanthus. So that's why it's not available in the US. I said, well, why don't they just take it out? Okay, it's one of the things. They said probably the market isn't big enough to do that. So it's owned by now Diageo, which is a big international liquor company. And there's not a lot of information, there's not a lot of stuff out there about it. It's kind of a cult thing in the bar world. If you come to France, buy a bottle at the supermarket, it's inexpensive, it's like €9, and bring it to your favorite bartender. It's good, but I have to say that I like some of the substitutes better, just because they have a lot more flavor, they're more herbaceous, they're fresher. This is one called Sepia Amer, which I love. For those of you that have been watching these Instagram lives for a while, I had Miko, who is one of the founders of Audemus Spirits, and he's just lovely, lovely, lovely fellow. He lives in Cognac. They make these interesting spirits. They do a gin with capers and very umami items, but this is really good. And the first time I tasted it, there's the hot water heater. I loved it because I love bitters. So that's Romano. Sorry, I thought he was in the shower. So yes, if somebody says a green bottle of chartreuse, 20 years old, yes, it's probably very good. So you can see it's quite dark. But you can taste all these things. It's like sassafras and root beer, and like grains and so forth. It's a wonderful flavor in a cocktail. I get a lot of people that want to reduce sugar. Every time I put sugar in a recipe, they want to reduce it. But sugar is important because it balances things. If you've ever had some of the really heavy-duty Amaros, Brad Parsons, who wrote a really good book called Amaro, and I've had a lot of Amaros with him tasting, and some of them are, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but they're undrinkable. They're so harsh and herbal, and it's like, we need some sugar in this, or something. Sugar balances things out. I wrote on my Facebook page that La Durée is for sale, and people were saying, oh, macaroons, their macaroons are so sweet. I was like, well, they're meringues. That's what macaroons are, they're sugar. They're sugar and egg whites, so. So this is only available in France, Australia, and a couple other places, I think England. But I do recommend this. If you come to France, get a bottle of this. If you live in Australia or England, get a bottle. I quite like it a lot. This will last for a long time. I don't know how long. Ça va, Romano? This is another amer. Amer is sort of the French version of Amaro, Italian Amaro, which people know more about than. France doesn't really have a big culture of Amers anymore. Most of them have sort of fallen from the wayside. They usually only get added to beer now. People don't drink them after dinner like they do in Italy. So this is a lovely one. This is a Bigale Cina Cina. It's made in the Alps. It's made somewhat near Chartreuse. I went to there where they make it. And it's got this wonderful orange, like bitter orange and caramel flavor to it. Apparently it got the name, the fellow, why is it named China China? Like legend has it, the guy who was inventing it had some caramel on the stove when he was outside talking to his girlfriend. Her name was China, or China in French. And somebody said, you're burning the caramel, and he's like, oh, China, China, and he ran back in. I don't necessarily know if I believe that story because it sounds a little weird to me, but I've never met a woman in France named China, but so be it. And this is really good stuff. You can get this in the US. It comes in these little half bottles. It's much more orangey than this, but you can also use a good Amaro. One Amaro that I like is Nonino. This is sort of, I'm going to quote him only one more time. Brad Parsons often calls these like entry level, or there's probably another term he uses. He probably hung up because I blocked him again. Gateway Amaros. It's something, because some of the Amaros are tough. It's interesting to have like an Amaro like this that's very pleasant. It's not super bitter. So to make this cocktail called the Jaguar, now that I've had 3 shots of picon, but really good. I do like this quite a bit. So, because it doesn't have fruit juice in it, I'm going to use a mixing glass. If you don't have a mixing glass, you can use a jar. You can use a tumbler. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be super fancy. We're friends. So use what you've got. You don't have to necessarily buy stuff, but it's okay to buy stuff. If I bought this, I think on eBay, but I like it. I use it all the time. So it's got 1.5 ounces of blanco tequila. When I had Ivy Mixon, who has a great bar in Brooklyn called Leyenda, she talked about tequila, and when they don't say 100% agave on them, which this is, they can be distilled with almost anything, and some of the stuff is kind of icky that they distill it with, according to some experts. So I haven't been to the distillery. So you want to get one that's 100% agave. So 1.5 ounces of blanco tequila. And then 1.5 ounces, and I'm going to use the rest of this because I'm thrifty. 1.5 ounces, maybe I'll use I'm going to use Miko's Sepia Amer. Whoops. Because I haven't seen him in a while and I like him. So, 3/4 ounce of Amer. And you can use an Amaro. And then 3/4 ounce of Chartreuse. If you like it on the full-on side, you can use green Chartreuse. If you like it a little milder, you can use yellow Chartreuse. This is also stronger. This is 55 proof, and this is 43 proof. It used to be 40 proof, and they just raised it. So I'm going to use this. Roman's on the phone. That's all I can hear. The scooters aren't going by anymore. It's him now. Should I do a poll? How many people are tired of hearing him? That is a good question. There was an interview with somebody on the BBC about that, and I think it makes them sound cooler. They like the sound of the rum, rum, rum. And sometimes I'm like crossing the street, and they start, when you get on the crosswalk, they start like revving the engine when you walk by them. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting gas. You can't go anywhere because the light is red. You can't go. So why are you harassing me? So anyway, I'll stop talking about the scooters until they start buzzing again. Okay, so I've got 1.5 ounces of tequila, blanco tequila. I've got 3/4 of an ounce of Chartreuse and 3/4 of an ounce of sepia amer. And then 3 dashes of orange bitters. And people often ask what a dash is. It's kind of like, it's the same amount when you say salt your scrambled eggs on top. How much do you put on? You just psh, psh, psh. So. Okay, so you want to fill the mixing glass about 2/3 full with ice. I just dumped out all the ice in my freezer because you're supposed to change your ice every, well, theoretically you should change it every few days, but I didn't do that. But it was getting kind of funky because my freezer is completely full. So I changed it, then I realized, oh, I need ice today. Okay, so you want to give it a good stir. You get it really cold. I should have made my garnish first. I should have got my orange out of the fridge first. All right. So, Brad's interested in my pocket sausage. Brad, I didn't know you cared about me that way. So there's the drink in the glass. I'm holding it carefully because I have to garnish it with an orange zest. Now, the drink is supposed to have a flamed orange zest, and that's where you hold a match in front of the drink and you squeeze the orange toward the drink so the oils light up and go across the surface of the drink. I actually don't find it makes a huge difference in taste, even though probably some people do. I do find it makes the top of the drink sort of smoky looking. And when I posted the picture on my blog, that I realized I'm not really good with photo editing software. I realized it made the drink look kind of smoky on top. So I spent about 2 hours trying to figure out how to change the color of that, and I couldn't. So yes, my bathroom is still in transit. The insurance people are arguing who's supposed to pay, the building or me. So it's been 8 weeks. So I'm just gonna add this in. Oh, I forgot to spray it into the drink. There we go. And then as my friend Margot from Combat does, she often does this with citrus. She goes, because it sort of heightens your senses. So this is the Jaguar. Romano! I think we lost him. Where do I go to the bathroom? Whoa, that's a personal question. It was funny if you read La Porte. I was going to get, I guess I can say this. I was going to get a urinal. And the woman at the plumbing store, you can get in France, they had ones with a fly in it, like embossed in the porcelain. And the woman at the plumbing store was looking and she was like, I don't know why there's 2 different prices. What is it? Why is there a mouche? I said, it's for aim. She goes, oh, okay. Romano. Okay, well, I've lost him. I've lost him to the telephone. So I'm going to show you what this. I'm going to try the little pocket sausage. I guess I should just eat it like this. It was funny. It was like 30 cents. It's kind of it's like Barbie. If you have a Barbie, if any of your kids have like Barbie's dream house, you can see it's really tiny. Yeah. So it's not bad. Probably not the best sausage I ever had. I did get a sausage. I bought a sausage at the natural food store. And it's actually a sausage. It's a reduced fat sausage. It's like a Slim Jim. I guess so. Slim Jims are kind of, they have that, I want to say greasy taste where you have to yank it out of your teeth, and that's part of the charm of a Slim Jim. This doesn't have a lot of charm, but it's kind of cute. But this is an interesting sausage. It's a reduced fat sausage. I don't mind buying low fat sausage. I'm not ashamed. Because I eat regular sausage too. But it's pretty good. We've bought this before. You can see what it looks like inside. It's not fat free. You can see all the fat. So when people say fat is flavor, I don't quite understand that, because this cocktail has a lot of flavor and it's no fat. So I bet this sausage tastes better and it's organic. Whoops. I like the shape. That's delicious. That's some Biocoupe. I shouldn't talk with my mouth full. Yes, I didn't speak any French when I moved here. I actually went to pastry school without speaking French, which was very interesting. A part of it was in English and part of it we had a translator. The best way to learn a language is to live somewhere and have a partner who doesn't speak your language. I have a lot of American friends or Anglophile friends that have partners who are French, but their partners speak perfect English. I'm like, how did I miss that with Romain? But it's actually good for me because he's very patient, and his best friend is half American, half French, so he's used to American culture. He's used to bagels and English muffins and so forth. So it's not a problem, but it's very hard to learn a language. Some people are very good at it and some aren't. It's okay if you're not. I have French friends that speak amazing English, and they have a very strong French accent when they do, and they've lived in America for 50 years. Literally, watch Jacques Pepin, he speaks very good English. He still makes mistakes, and he's been living in America since 1959 and even almost got his doctorate degree at Columbia University in English. So yes, it's hard to do, but it's very rewarding. I like speaking French. Yes, I was wondering if they were going to do that in France, because our mayor, Anne Hidalgo, is very eco-friendly. She's been changing the streets, putting a lot of bike lanes in, wants to make the city less hospitable to cars, more hospitable to bikes and pedestrians. So she's been drastically changing the configuration of the city, and I'm kind of wondering why they haven't switched to electric scooters. You can hear them going by. Yes, I have tips in my book, The Sweet Life in Paris, and on my blog, I talk about it. Never feel like a dope when you're traveling, because you're going to make a mistake, and I make mistakes all the time. I made stupid mistakes, whatever. Whenever I make a mistake, and if I'm afraid someone's going to laugh at me or make fun of me or judge me, I'm like, you know what? If those people came to where I live, they came to San Francisco or New York, they would make cultural mistakes too, and language mistakes. So you just happen to be in the position of being a tourist or a visitor or a non-native speaker. Do your best, smile. French people are actually quite funny. If you make a joke, like I went to the post office to pick up a package, and she said, oh, it hasn't arrived yet. I said, well, can you tell me at least where it's from? And she said, well, the United States. I said, well, we already had our president deliver. I said it sort of in French, and she kind of looked at me, was like, the president's not being delivered, it's a package. I said, no, delivery of something. So she kind of got that. She kind of laughed. Okay, well, it's very good. It's okay. They're very into boboon in France. How's the Vietnamese food? Someone's asking. And people always point out to me that that's wrong. It's bun bo. I don't know why. No one's ever been able to explain it to me why it's boboon in French. Everything, even if there's chicken in it, it's not. I don't know a lot about Vietnamese cuisine, but I love it. There's a couple of really good Vietnamese restaurants. There was one called Ciclo that was amazing. It was so good, and it closed. So it's interesting because Asian food is getting better. A lot of people here don't know a lot about it, especially authentic food. It's sort of new. Same with Mexican food. So it's very interesting now that these new places are opening that have good Chinese food, good Vietnamese food, good Mexican food, and people like them. French people are going to them. Not right now because all the restaurants are closed, but yes, people who speak a second language other than their first are to be commended. I'm very jealous. I have two friends who they live in Vietnam, and their kids were raised in Laos, Thailand, Japan, Vietnam, and they're French. So they speak all these languages plus English, because the kids go to English schools because they want to get an international education. So it's very interesting to be around them. Their son, who's French, I used to babysit for him, and one day he said to me, can we stop speaking French? It's too hard. I'm like, but you're French. He goes, I know, but English is so much easier. So I thought that was really cute. Are the cabinets behind me different heights? Yes. Not really. I mean, they're here and there. This one is a little askew because my hot water heater is in there. So the hot water heater sticks out a little because the person who put in the first hot water heater put in one that wasn't adequate enough to handle the size of apartment I have. So I had to have that replaced amongst other things. And of course, the old one fit in the cabinets and the new one didn't. So it was either have the hot water heater exposed all the time, which is not all that attractive, or the good contractor that fixed everything, he moved the doors out so that I could close them. So that's that. Oh, lots of questions. All right, so I will let you go. I hope you enjoy this drink. It's the Jaguar, and it's on my blog. I just put it on my blog today. So the recipe's there. It's 1.5 ounces of blanco tequila, and 3/4 ounce each of amaro or amer, and 3/4 ounce of Chartreuse, and 3 dashes of orange bitters, which everybody should have who makes cocktails. Stay tuned. I'm gonna eat more of these cookies, oat pecan praline cookies. Claire, if you're watching, I like your recipe and your book, Dessert Person. And that's it. If you want to get my newsletter, you can go to my blog. In the sidebar, it says sign up for a newsletter here, and you can also sign up to get blog posts sent to you every time they're published, which is about once or twice a week sometimes. This week was twice, next week will be once. Anyway, there's a newsletter, there's 2 versions, there's a free and a paid. One version the premium version will have the recipe for this cake in it, which is a savory dessert cake that maybe I'll have a bite with the cocktail. I was stalling for time thinking Roman would come back, but I think I've lost him. Really good. So cheers, enjoy the Jaguar. Hope your Friday turns out okay wherever you are. Take care of yourselves, take care of others. That's what we were put on earth to do, to reproduce, to eat, and to breathe, but also to take care of each other. So it's great checking in with you. I'm seeing you every once in a while here on Instagram. I was always told not to talk with my mouth full, so I won't. On behalf of Romano? Okay, he's completely forgot about it. Okay, so on behalf of Roman, I wanted to say, see you soon, a biento, as he would say. Bye-bye.